Good morning, members. We have formed a quorum, and it's the time to start. So I call the meeting to order now. This morning, we have 3 papers to discuss. In the legislative session 2012 to 13, up to the last meeting, we have already approved 45 projects totaling $104.8361 billion. Among them, the basic projects total funding amounted to $100.5796 billion. Today, there are 3 papers to upgrade 3 projects to grade 8 with a total proposed funding of $8.9484 billion. If they are approved, then we will have approved 48 projects with a total funding of $113.7845 billion, among which funding related to projects would amount to $100.9528 billion. May I remind members that if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the discussion items today, please disclose your the nature of your interest in accordance with Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure before you speak on those items. And also, please note Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure if there is a direct pecuniary interest, and note the relevant rule before you cast your vote. Today, we have 3 papers related to landfills. May I propose that we discuss them together, and then we'll vote separately on those items. Paper 1, PWSC 2013-14-25. This is to recommend the upgrading of 164 DR to Category A and an estimated cost of $1.8864 billion in money of the day prices for extension of the Southeast New Territories landfill. The second one is PWSC 2013-14-20. This is to recommend the upgrading of 163 DR to Category 8 and an estimated cost of $7.269 billion in money of the day prices for the extension of the Northeast New Territories landfill. And the third paper is PWSC 2013-14, number 21. This is to upgrade part of 165 DR to Category A and an estimated cost of $35.1 million in money of the day prices, and to retain the remainder of 165 DR in Category B for the purpose of engaging consultants to look into the extension of the West New Territories landfill extensions. The EA panel was consulted on the 27th of May in relation to the 3 items, and the relevant discussion points have been tabled for members' reference. The panels move motions to oppose the item number 1, that is Southeast NT landfills. That is paper number 1. The motion was carried. The panel also moved a motion to oppose paper number 2, and that is Northeast NT landfill, paper number 2, and also the third item, the extension of West NT landfill. The motions were not carried. And there was a special meeting convened on the 1st of June by the panel to hear views from the deputations and representatives. Today, in attendance, we have Mr. Wong Kam-lam, Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Albert Lam, Deputy Director, EPD, Dr. Alan Chan, Assistant Director, EPD, Mr. Lawrence Lau, Principal Environmental Protection Officer, EPD. So over to you, Mr. Wong, Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. With regard to the extension of the landfills, we have discussed these for more than 10 years, and in the process we have been in constant communication with the Council. And since the assumption of office of the new term of government, we have been keeping the council informed, and we have also organized a study tour to South Korea to look into the waste disposal and recovery of waste. We also published a blueprint for the coming 10 years in terms of reduction of waste at source, and also the enhancement of recovery, as well as the proposal to introduce a levy. And we have also taken a good look at the endpoint management of waste. And since there is also a pending judicial review case, there's an urgent need to extend our current landfills. We understand the landfills would be completely up to capacity starting from 2014. We have no other facilities to handle waste. And in other cities, even with incinerators, they would have a 15% of waste disposed of at their landfills. So in terms of timing and in terms of actual need, we do have to do something about our landfills. And there are also strategic considerations. There are one in the north, in the northern part, and also eastern and western part of the territory. As I have said, in the past 10 years, we have been in communication with electrical members to understand their views. We have visited a number of places to learn from their experience. So we have done our best to demonstrate the need to do something about waste management. So we are not just talking about the disposal, but also the other aspects such as recovery and recycling. Today, we don't have sufficient support or votes for the Southeast anti-landfill extension application. That is the Cheongguan-no landfill. This is regrettable. So we have to withdraw this application for Cheongguan-no landfill. But in terms of waste management, we do need all the three projects. We need to extend the three landfills. We shouldn't give up any one of them, thereby adding more pressure to the other landfills. So in the coming months, we are going to do more to demonstrate our commitment to improve our facilities and improve our measures, to including providing a subsidy to the refuse collection vehicle operators so as to reduce the problem associated with odor, and so that there will be less nuisance caused to residents near the landfills. We would come back to discuss with members, we hope by the end of the day we'll have member support to extend these landfills. Thank you, Secretary. 13 members have indicated their wish to speak. For PWSC members, if you want to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. For non-PWSC members, please raise your hands. The Secretariat staff would jot down your names, but you may lose out in terms of priority to speak. You may be put at the very end of the queue, I'm afraid. As Mr. Wong has said, in relation to the paper on Cheongguan-no landfill, it's going to be withdrawn. Since the paper has been withdrawn, I hope if you want to speak on that paper, please be succinct, please be brief, don't spend too much time on that, so that we can have sufficient time for the other two. Mr. James Dean, yes? I pressed the button. Can I speak before 9:30 because I have to meet some residents? I'm sorry, some other members have already pressed the button. Yes, I've I've raised my hand very early on. Well, you're not. Are you a member or you're not a member? In that case, there is all the less reason not to give you the privilege. Mr. Michael Tin, I think no one likes the word landfill. No one likes a landfill near his home. But in this world, not one affluent city can rely on waste reduction as source and does not have to handle any waste at all. So let's not delude ourselves. We do need landfills. If I am asked to support the provision of landfills, I would ask for two conditions to be met. First, what is the government going to do? What is it going to do to minimize the the adverse impact on people? Second, and this has become suddenly important, we have 3 landfills in the east, in the west, and in the north. I think this is a collective responsibility. I've heard people saying that we should not extend the one in the east part, but those people from the west saying that we have 200 hectares and they have 13 hectares only, and the smelly ones are going to be sent our way, not theirs. So why can't they accept this? So I'm a bit worried about the politics in Hong Kong nowadays. The one who yelled the loudest will get exemption. So you may, as a result, have 2 million people coming out to have a hunger strike to protest. Well, I have visited the landfills myself. I've got a photo here, Chairman. You can see me in a concealed refuse collection vehicle. It's an ordinary RCV with some food waste. After compression, it will be disposed. Well, I opened the window a bit. I almost threw up by the smell. And that's another one. This is the waterborne transportation route. I opened the window, and it was okay to me. So it's done through a transfer station. I asked the expert, and they said that, well, if you use your hand to squeeze an orange, your hand smells orange. But if it's squeezed by machine, your hand is smell-free. So I have asked for 3 conditions to be met, and that is at least 64% should be transported through transport stations after compressions, 36% by direct access of refuse collection vehicles, and this part is going to cause some nuisance. So you should encourage more extensive use of the transport station and not by direct transportation of our CVs. So how can we reduce the percentage share of the vehicles, such as so that it would come down to 36%? So far, we haven't got any response. And I've asked for legislation to improve or to provide concealed RCV, and they have promised to do this. So waste disposal remains a difficult issue. And if the Secretary is now telling us that the East NT landfill is not going to be used in this way, but these vehicles will have to go to the transport station, but the capacity is already full. The only ones that can be used will be North Lantau or Lam Tay. So instead of going to the East NT landfill, these vehicles will have to go to the north or to the west of Hong Kong. Many of them will be handling food waste. So for these 2 districts, instead of having 36% of the refuse handled, or 46% being food waste, and now it's going to be of a higher percentage. I think if we share this, and if we can build more transport stations, or if we can fully utilize the underutilized transport stations, and then we can reduce the percentages, then I can reluctantly support the proposals. If you ask the 2 other landfills to show what is excluded from the Cheung Kwan O 1, then this is not acceptable. If we go on like this politically, then it means that if you don't want to have something in your backyard, you would go out to have a hunger strike. As long as you can get a lot of people to support you, then people would and politicians would yield because of the consideration of votes.
Is that the the society that we want to have in Hong Kong? Well, this time the two landfills have to show the responsibility for the whole Hong Kong. Therefore, I'm going to vote against the paper. Dr. Loy Kwa. Well, the landfills are going to be saturated very soon. I think the problem is getting imminent, and very soon I think the whole city will be, flooded with garbage. I think waste management, we're talking about waste reduction, recycling, proper handling of waste products. I think we need to adopt the three-pronged approach. We can't do without any one of those. We have the problem with us today because the SAR government over the last 10 years or so have not done a good job in these three areas. At the moment, the biggest problem is that landfill is the only way for us to dispose waste. I think we have advanced technologies, incendiary technologies. I think that those studies have started a long time ago when Sarah Liao was the secretary. I already joined that study group, and we explore the various technologies, and the then secretary also led us on a visit to Japan. Over the years, I think what should have been done have not been done, and that's why we are faced with the problem today, and I think the government cannot deny its responsibility. Whether it's the proposal for the extension of these few landfills, whether they are approved or not. Furthermore, the government has now withdrawn the application for the extension of the Tseung Kwan O landfill. But in terms of the management of landfills, and I think the relief measures are necessary. I'm very happy to hear the Secretary promising us that the tipping trucks will be converted into fully contained vehicles. When we went on a study tour to Japan, and upon our return, we strongly advocated this already because the refuse collection vans were fully enclosed and there is no odor at all, and the whole incinerating plant did not even, generate any odor at all. So whether this committee, whatever the outcome of our deliberations today, the government must, the Secretary, you must promise to expedite the conversion of the refuse collection vehicles and also cleaning up the roads for where the tipping trucks have to use. I'm also very concerned, that is the BPA is also very concerned that we don't have an incinerator yet, and we need to improve the transport network in areas surrounding the landfills. In Tuen Mun, near Black Pond, I think all these offensive facilities will be placed there, and the road network there will be under a lot of pressure. So I think we need to assess the transport facilities for the area in order so that we can cope with the increased traffic flow, so that a small number of residents in the area will have to be subject to such adverse traffic impact. So we need to come up with a proper solution. Regarding the interim solution, I think the government should expedite its efforts on reduction at source and also, helping the recycling industries. We already have two potential sites to build the incinerators, including Shek Kwu Chau, which is reclaimed from the sea, and also the other one in Tuen Mun, which is, of course, we can debate which one should go first, but these are necessary facilities. We also can use, garbage to have resort to waste to energy, approach, because these are environmentally friendly facilities. Regarding waste reduction and segregation of waste, with government, I think the government has done enough in terms of promotion. we need to consider imposing charges on waste production, and that we should also ensure that there is segregation of waste and also promote the recycling industries. Otherwise, we will not be able to cope with the strong objection from the community. So reduction at source, recycling, and proper handling of waste are three areas where the government must step up its efforts. Mr. Len Chi Chung, thank you. Our discussion today, I think we're not discussing a new issue today. According to the government's paper, I think we started the discussion in 2008 or even in 2006 and 2007. When the government consulted the community, obviously it should have received some submissions regarding, for example, the management of landfills and the transport and environmental issues arising from landfills. But having heard the views from different quarters, the government has not carried out such improvements. I've actually gone to Park Lai village with the director, namely the landfill at Northwest NT. The reaction to the villagers are very strong. They have to put up with the odor, the mosquitoes, and the flies. But this is no problem which has only arisen this year. It's been, the problem has been there for 20 years. But now you're coming to LegCo, asking this committee to approve your application. So I think people have the impression that you are not being sincere. The consultation has been going on for such a long time. So much input has been given to you, and we have yet to see any improvements. And it's so easy for you to ask the residents and LegCo members to support your application. The government should know this very well. That is, regarding the consultation for the extension of landfills, you really need to do some solid work. I heard Mr. Lau Wong Fat saying that before you put this proposal to LegCo, you have not yet gone to consult the Tin Mun District Council. So you've not even consulted the district council, and yet you come here to ask us to approve your proposal. It would appear that you are neglecting the views of the community concerned, and this is not acceptable. When the Yuen Long District Council met yesterday, some members asked why the government did not consult the Yuen Long District Council. In Yuen Long, the lower Park Lai village falls within the Yuen Long constituency. Tin Mun, so as Tin Mun is gone, there was an adverse traffic impact, but in Yuen Long, a specific village was affected. I think you need to come and consult the district council. So we've now decided that you will send an official to meet with us early next month to explain your position. The extension of landfills and the solution of the waste management problem is necessary, because if we don't want any landfills, then where can we dispose of the waste? To answer the problem, we cannot focus on a single approach. All the concrete issues raised by the residents, you've not addressed them, including the traffic impact. Villagers at the lower Park Lai village asked you to build a new road linking up Yuen Long with the landfill, and you've not indicated whether you would do anything about it. You said that you will spend $200 million to retrofit the refuse, the tipping trucks. But you're only doing this year. You should have done it in 06, 07. Okay, I won't dwell on this any further. I'd like to ask the Secretary why you've not gone to consult the District Council, and why for such a long time you've not improved such services. Secretary, I will start and my colleagues can supplement. Regarding the conversion of the tipping trucks, the government has been working hard on this all along. Previously, all the government vehicles have been retrofitted, and they are now fully contained. They take up a certain percentage of the tipping trucks. We will now continue to retrofit the tipping trucks operated by private in the private sector. To answer the question why we've not gone to the District Council, the Tin Mun District Council, if members would look at CB 170 in Annex D2, we've clearly stated that starting from 2004 until December 2012, we've shown, given an account of the number of times that we've consulted the Timor District Council. We understand that the Anti-West landfill is close to the Lower Parklai village. All along, we have been liaising closely with the Rural Committee of Lower Parklai village and the Ha Chun. We have set up a special working group, and we will continue to liaise closely with them. Members, I hope that when members ask questions or express your views, please do not exhaust all your 5 minutes, otherwise there wouldn't be enough time for the Secretary to respond. And for members who intend to ask questions, I see that we have a long list, and I will not be able to extend the meeting today, so I can only allow one round of questions for each member, so there won't be a second round. So please make good use of your 5 minutes. Dr. Fernando Joe. Thank you. We understand that landfilling as a solution of waste disposal is the worst method. The best solution is to reduce waste at source, and then we will try our best to recycle waste products, and incineration then could be a last resort. Incineration and landfilling would be the last resort. I think the government and the Bureau know this very well. Regrettably, over the years, or since the handover, what should have been done, put on the top of the priority, that is reduction at source and recycling, the government has put in very little effort, and the government has not been very active. And the government instead spent tens of billions of dollars on extending the landfills and also planning to build an incinerator. I think the government seems to have got the priorities wrong in terms of provision resources. The government has done it, has got the priorities wrong. The government has not done anything over the years, and now you're telling us the problem is imminent, and we are asked to approve your application to extend the 3 landfills. Today, you've withdrawn the application for the Changuano landfill because you will not have enough votes to support you. But I don't think the government should only, consider whether it would have enough votes in support of this proposal. We should consider, the environment, and instead of resorting to the most politically most expedient solution, and at the expense of our next generation. Regarding the 2 applications for the Northeast and the West New Territories landfill extension, or landfills, on Sunday last week, I went to the Northeast NT landfill. It was raining very heavily that day, and the storm has just left Hong Kong. So we have had very heavy rainfall over those few days. When I was there, I was next to the landfill. There was a lot of water flowing down because of the downpour. And surprisingly, despite the heavy downpour, the water which flew, which came out, really stank. Really stinked. Yesterday, the EPD made a clarification saying that upon investigation, the department confirmed that there had not been any sewers, discharging into the rivers. We're talking about Takuling and the Walking San village and the streams there. I was there exactly, and I saw the water flowing out of the landfills, and they were polluted. They were sewers. Compared with the water coming down from the mountain streams, they were totally different in colors. It is obvious that the water was really filthy, and it really smelled. You could smell it at the scene. So what you're telling us and what I've seen are totally different. Of course, I'm not an expert. I'm not familiar with problems relating to water quality and pollution, but I was but speaking as a layman, I could see that the water flowing out of the landfills really smelled.
So how can you not call it sewage? I don't know whether there was heavy metal or other contaminants or pollutants. But your clarification statement says that your contractor would regularly monitor the environment in the vicinity of the landfill. My first question is this. Can you tell us more about the regular surveillance? Can you give us some information? When did you check the runoff, the water content underground, and what are the findings? Second, will the Environmental Bureau be willing to send someone to go along with me so that we can take some water sample for further testing? I've received complaints from the residents a number of times saying that the water has been seriously polluted. The river is deprived of any fish. There's no sign of life there. The landfill is supposed to be contained. There should be no runoff. And I'm asking whether the Bureau is willing to send someone to go with me. No reply, as I've said. I hope you would respect the arrangement as I've set out. Mr. Tam Yu Cho, with regard to the extension of the 3 landfills, the DAB has seriously considered the case and listened to views expressed on the proposals. Well, at this stage, we are not going to support the extension of Cheung Kwan O landfill because of poor management of transportation and the landfill itself. Our Cheung Kwan O division and our local colleagues in the councils make some proposals, but those advice and suggestions were not heeded. So we only support the extension after you make an improvement. As for the two other landfills, Northeast NTs and Southeast and West NT, we can support them, but we do have some comments about them. For these NT landfill, we should reduce minimum the nuisance, for example, contained RCV. But for the one in Tuen Mun, more waterborne transportation of refuse should be adopted so that we can reduce the number of refuse vehicles using Long Mun Road and roads near the residential areas, and also to reduce odor. Second, because you are asking for $35 million to conduct a study for the West NT, I think the study should look into the possibility of not extending it to up to 200 hectares. And also the lifespan should not be as long as up to 2033, because we don't want to make Tuen Mun a big landfill for a very long period of time. So please cover this part in your study so as to avoid casting a negative image on Tuen Mun. Second, we would like the administration to fund a study on how to conduct a better operation in consulting the public and listening to public views. For example, sending people to primary and secondary schools and to meet the residents to explain to them the pros and cons of the proposed extension of the landfill there. And also, the government should support the green industry by devoting more efforts to reduce waste at source and to reduce municipal waste at source. And also, among the 18 districts, Tuen Mun has been shouldering is more than a fair share of obnoxious facilities. But for a long time, the administration has ignored the views of Tuen Mun people. So I hope the railway project for Tuen Mun can be expedited so as to enhance the image of Tuen Mun and to improve the environments for Tuen Mun. I know that for Northeast NT landfill, the Tuen Mun landfill, will, after the study and in 2 years' time, the administration will come back for funding approval for the actual extension. If what I have suggested is not responded to in the coming 2 years, the DAB will not necessarily support the funding application for the actual extension of landfill. I hope the Secretary will bear this in mind. That's all I want to say. I would like to get a response. Secretary, thank you. Technically, for technical issues, I'll ask my colleagues to supplement. We know that, as you know, the new term of government is aware that there's room for improving the transportation and management of the landfill. As for reduction of waste, we have got an action blueprint. Let's work together to implement the blueprint to reduce waste. The member also asked how we can communicate better with the community, with the schools, to understand various aspects of waste reduction and the management of landfill. Well, I agree with the observations. Dr. Chen? As for the study, well, under the study, we're going to look at the design plan, the site investigation, and the tendering process. On all these, we are willing to consult the district council and carry out outreaching activities to schools and to the residents to enable them to understand the design and the policy behind the plan to have the landfill extended. We are also willing to arrange visits by schools and residents to understand how the landfill is managed. Ms. Alice Mack, we met the CS on the proposed extension plan. We agree with the withdrawal of the proposal about the Zhangguanou landfill, but we find it regrettable that the Secretary is unwilling to withdraw the one about West NT. We understand we have a pressing problem to handle waste. But when there is a lack of sufficient facilities in other waste management aspects, if we just keep on extending our landfills, would it mean that after 5 to 6 years and the government has failed to deal with waste as source, are we going to extend these or other landfills? It's not a good solution to keep extending our landfills. In a city, if we can reduce waste as source, we can have a suitable capacity for incineration and for landfill as a matter of waste management policy. But we cannot support the extension proposal now. As we said yesterday to the CS, we'd like the other measures to be put in place first. We also ask for the withdrawal of the 3 applications. The one on Zhangguanou has been withdrawn, but we are going to oppose to the one on West NT, but we are going to support the one on Taku-Lang. We understand we need to address a problem of waste management. For the Taku-Lang landfill, the administration has done something to improve it, and therefore there's less objection from the district. According to Dr. Chan, you consulted the Tuen Mun District Council. Yes, you did. But in January and September 2009, when you consulted the Tuen Mun District Council, the council to pass a motion not to allow any more the landfill in Tuen Mun, and also to ask you to come up with a long-term plan for Tuen Mun, for the development of Tuen Mun. That was in 2009. And so far, the administration has not done anything about the development of new NT. And the Tuen Mun River Improvement Project has now fallen through because of lack of funding of some millions of dollars. So how can you convince Tuen Mun people that you are committed? You must show commitment. We appreciate your commitment to promote the green industry, waste management, and recycling. And if the approved application for Northeast NT is approved, and you can go ahead with the study, which will be regrettable to me. I hope you would really implement the measures on improving the recycling industry and the waste management policy that you talked about yesterday. And when you want to implement these measures and measures in the districts, please do not ignore local views. I think you have learned a lesson today. Without local support, your policy cannot really be effectively implemented. Don't blame people that, we are said to be in objection for the sake of objection. You have to understand that to implement a policy smoothly, you have to get local support. Otherwise, if we give the green light and the residents that don't support it, you do not have public support for that policy. And you have to look at the local capacity. You have to do a good job in providing the infrastructure before you can gain their support. The FTU would like to put forth 2 principles concerning waste management in the future. First, you should never ignore the capacity of the district, and you must implement the infrastructure required by local residents. Second, you should take up waste reduction as part of the package. It should be committed, especially financial commitment should be shown to carry out all the necessary measures. Mr. Holt, well, every city has to handle waste. Waste is never popular. Waste has to be managed and disposed of. And the government has a plan to reduce the per capita waste generation by 37%. I think this should be fully supported by everyone to reduce waste. But for the ratio to be taken by landfilling, we are very unhappy. At present, it's only 48% being recycled and reused, and more than 50% will go to the landfills. As a result, the landfills are going to be saturated. We have 13 landfills in Hong Kong which have been fully utilized and saturated. Landfilling is a resource intensive approach, expensive. You have to do the investigation, you have to manage it, operate it, and spend money on rehabilitation. $1.88 billion for the Twin Moon 1, $7 billion for the Northeast NT or in Twin Moon. Is by no means cheap, and rehabilitation also costs money. And the land formed by the landfilling cannot be used for useful purposes. The foundation will be unstable. You cannot have buildings erected on the site, so the sites will have to be just used for recreation. You have seen that in Northwest NT there have been land filled up by having waste put in the valleys. So we should try to reduce the use of landfills. And now the target ratio for landfill by the Environment Bureau will still be 22%. This is too conservative. The Labour Party would like the administration to compress the ratio taken up by the landfills to 5%, because we have 85% of waste which can be recycled and reused, including paper, plastics, and food waste. Maybe the cost of recycling will be higher than the revenue you can generate. But if you take into account the operation cost, rehabilitation cost, the total land cost, social cost of landfills, recycling and reuse to the community is more cost-effective. Therefore, we urge the Bureau to promise that in the long term, as a whole, the ratio taken up by reuse and recycling should go up from 55% to not less than 72%. and landfilling should be compressed from 22% to not more than 5%. Why are we allowing you to have landfills, although landfills are not sustainable? We know that there are waste that cannot be incinerated because of the content, and we don't know whether the latest incineration technique can handle those kind of materials. And still there will be ashes, and there will be medical waste which may contain contaminated materials, so you still need some landfills. But if we do a good job to reduce waste, then the lifespan of landfills can be extended. Because even with the extension plan implemented, 20 years down the road, you're going to come back with the same problems.
And the Secretary only told us about the saturation of landfills 10 years ago. So I think regarding development recycling industry, please allocate $2 billion in order to create 10,000 jobs. That is, in each district council constituency, there should be 25. The money that is left should be spent on R&D and product design, as well as developing business opportunities. We always say that recovery is not enough. You need to also, expand the market. Secretary, after members have spoken, I'm sure the chairman will allow you time to respond. I'll certainly stay on to listen to your response. Later on, I'll certainly give time for the Secretary to respond to members' comments. Mr. Gary Chan. Thank you. In Hong Kong, indeed, we need to deal with the waste products, whether by way of landfilling or incineration. But regarding these offensive facilities, the government should find out about the sentiment of the local population. The government's decision to withdraw the proposal for the extension of the Chung Kwan O landfill is a pragmatic move. But I'd like to remind the Secretary that whatever you promised the Chung Kwan residents, including measures to remove odor, improving the tipping trucks, and also carrying waste by barges, and not allowing the tipping trucks to use the Wanpo Road. You need to implement all these measures. Otherwise, when you come back to us for application in future, you will still encounter strong resistance. Chairman, according to some reports, the landfills in Chung Kwan O, I think there's a very strong objection against the Chung Kwan O and the Tin Mun landfill. But I'd like the Secretary to know that residents in Takuling are also concerned about the extension of landfill there. According to my calculation, if you do not dump further food waste in the Chung Kwan O landfill, and if we're going to cut down the number of trips by tipping trucks by 500 every day, then every day about half of these tipping trucks, namely 250, will carry the waste to the Takuling landfill. And that would really create a lot of pressure on the transport system for the northern part of the NT, especially Sha Tau Kok Road. With the opening of the former closed area, it's already very congested there. If you add to that the 250 tipping trucks going there in the area, I can't imagine what the situation would be like. And secondly, regarding the management of these tipping trucks, in Chung Kwan O, we see already that the Wanpo Road, the situation there at Wanpo Road is very bad already. When 250 tipping trucks go to the North District without proper hygiene management, our total highway and the Shuttlecock Highway will be a repetition of what happened at Wanpo Road. I hope the Secretary will give us a solemn undertaking. That is, when the tipping trucks carry garbage to the Takuling landfill, how can you ensure that the odor, the hygiene issues, and the leakage of sewers from these vehicles will not happen again in Takuling? Thank you. In responding to local aspirations. We're not just considering Chuan Kwan O. That is, we are proposing to retrofit all the tipping trucks in Hong Kong in order to minimize, to mitigate the problem of odor and the seepage of sewers, so that for the whole territory of Hong Kong and the residents living in the landfills, they will see an improvement. So we do it in a comprehensive manner. Through legislation and provision of subsidy, we will set a deadline, and before that deadline we will liaise with the trade, and we'll take in consideration the mode of operation, and so that we can improve the entire fleet of tipping trucks as soon as possible. The Secretary's not answered my first question. How do you resolve the transport problem along Shuttlecock Highway, Shuttlecock Road? For all these infrastructural facilities, we will definitely consider whether the transport network in the area can cope. Regarding the transport impact, with the extension of the southeast landfill, and if the landfill only accept construction waste, then we think that there are about 500 tons of municipal solid waste will need to be taken to the two other landfills. But we believe that this is a big move. Mr. Michael Dean was right in saying that we should do our best to make use of the existing transfer stations. So for garbage coming from the east, they will be taken to the Sha Tin transfer station. We're not talking about 200 odd vehicles. After compression, there will be 47 40 feet containers of garbage which will be taken to Tak Kwu Ling. We can't predict the exact figures, because some people in the trade say that they will go to the West Kowloon transfer station. Alan Leung. Chairman, it's not the first time that we're discussing the problem of landfill, but from what we've heard from Mr. Wong Kam Sing, the Secretary, we don't think the government has any logic or has a proper priority in mapping out a waste management policy. As many members have pointed out, landfilling it's a back end solution. At the upper stream, the things that you should do, you don't do, and you only deal with the problem at the low stream, and you are putting the cart before the horse. The Civic Party believe that the problem upstream, regarding the problem upstream, you can resort to waste reduction. And for waste that really need to be treated or managed, only then would you go for recycling and reuse. So you should do a good job in terms of recycling, reuse, and if despite that, if there's still some waste to be disposed of because it cannot be recycled, only then should you first go for incineration and after that landfilling. That should be the logic. In our negotiation and battle with the administration over the years, the government does not have a convincing method of tackling the problem. The Civic Party this time suggests that you should go first for waste reduction. And we're not as aggressive as Mr. Ho. We're saying that if you could recycle 60% of waste, we would accept that. And then the remaining 40% can be taken to landfills and incinerators. Of course, regarding incineration, we would demand that you adopt the most advanced technologies which is used in Japan. That is the so-called ion vaporization technology. We are proposing all these solutions, but the government is not willing to give us a timetable or any commitment as to when they could be done. If you want the residents in Tin Mun, Takuling, and Changono to sacrifice themselves in order for the overall interest of Hong Kong, then such sacrifices has to be made for a good cause. While you ask them to make sacrifices, then you should at least go through a process of negotiation. But you've not done that. A few days ago, I went to La Capitale, La Prestige, and Lower Park, and the people there are really very angry, and you can't blame them. Once you go into drive along Whampoa Road, before you arrive at Lower Park, you can smell the odor already. Of course, you can say that it was after the heavy rainfall and after the sun came out, there was evaporation and the odor became really bad. And some residents told me sarcastically that if CY Leung and Carrie Lam and Mr. Wong Kam Sing are willing to live in Lower Park, that we can all, stick it out together. So that's the irony. I only have one more minute. I wonder whether the Secretary could still give me a response. That is whether you would, deal with the entire logic. Your entire logic of waste reduction. And finally, our party will be against the application. Regarding the logic, we've actually issued a action blueprint for the next 10 years. And what we said in that action blueprint is similar to what Mr. Leung has said just now. Looking at the current situation in Hong Kong, we believe that it is more appropriate for us to adopt a multi-pronged approach. If you say we should go for recycling for 5 years first, that would not be pragmatic because the lifespan of landfills there's only a few more years left before the landfills will be saturated. And I will now ask my colleague to supplement. Mr. Lam. If I may. Please go on. Over the years, ever since we put forward the proposal, we have been constantly updating our research as to which technology would be the best in dealing with waste management. We've made reference of experience in Japan and Europe, and like Mr. Leung said, what Mr. Leung had pointed out, we've incorporated them in our study. We need to deal with cope with 3,000 tons of waste every day. We need to have facilities that can satisfy the stringent emission standard from Europe. And if you look at we need to look at track record, whether or not there are some new technologies which are not yet mature, or some technologies might have already been withdrawn from the market. So having made a careful consideration, we believe that we've identified one technology that is most suitable for Hong Kong, and we'll continue to follow up on that. Mr. Yip, the government is now faced with the present predicament because over the years, for more than 10 years, the government has not really addressed the question of waste management. Although the government now has decided to withdraw its application in respect of the Southeast anti-landfill extension, I would still like to express the position of the Liberal Party to the Secretary. The Liberal Party, at the time of the electoral election, had undertaken to the residents in Tseung Kwan O that we will not support any proposal for the extension of Tseung Kwan O landfill. And today we will still stand by our commitment. As Mr. Michael Tin said earlier, in any society, no matter how successful we are at waste reduction, you still need the existence of landfill. It's only a question of size. Given that the other two locations are more remote from residential developments and the impact is relatively smaller, therefore the Liberal Party is in support of the proposal to extend the other two landfills. Many members made criticisms against the work the government has done over the years, and I will not repeat such criticism now. But in future, if the application for the extension of these 2 landfills were approved, and even though the government has proposed some improvement measures, I'd like to reflect some of the views from the industry to the government. Recently, the government suggested it will spend $20 million to retrofit the tipping trucks to make them fully enclosed. We'd like to add that they should also ensure that there will not be seepage of sewers from these trucks, because the tank holding the sewers are not big enough, and as a result, the sewers will simply come out as they arrive along the road. So either they're fully enclosing these tipping trucks to prevent the emission of odor, you have to ensure that there is no leakage of sewers. So the Liberal Party had told the last administration about this point, about regarding transfer station. Especially if we're going to not going to extend the general landfill, and we're going to extend the other 2. The trade told us that in future the charges will have to go up.
Because the vehicle will have to go to north or west, the tipping trucks, the charge will go up. So the government should look at possibility of providing more transport stations, so that there can be more waterborne transportation and reduce the impact on residents. As for the opening hours and management of landfills, something must be done. Very often, when a vehicle arrives, it's already beyond the operation times, or either they would just tip the refuse, or to park near the landfill for a long time. So the administration should try to reduce such problems. I understand how the industry operates. Secretary, thank you for your comments. Those views are very pragmatic. We would maintain the dialogue with members. Mr. Charles Moore, in his letter addressed to Tseung Kwan O residents, the first term he used is pragmatic. We understand that there is urgent need to extend the landfills. And now we have this problem because the last term of government didn't do anything about this. And the C.Y. Leung administration has such low popularity ratings that whatever they say, no one trusts them. And even if we build an incinerator, it would take more than 1 or 2 years. Waste reduction has actually been implemented. We have reduced waste by 1/3, and I don't think we can reduce another third easily. So we have wasted time in implementing other measures. So now that the Tseung Kwan O landfill proposal has been withdrawn, but Tseung Kwan O residents are still facing, smelling, and seeing those older, smelly RCVs. And I hope they will not think that because of their success in having the application withdrawn, the problem will go away. Measures must be taken by the Bureau to reduce odor, especially the government RCVs and our government contract RCVs must have containment measures implemented, and laws should be implemented. You should present the proposals urgently. I don't think any member here would dare to object to those proposals. I don't mind if we have to do this during the summer break. I don't want Tseung Kwan O residents to lose out even after the application has been withdrawn. And you should implement all the improvement measures to reduce odor. Don't just try to resubmit the application in the shortest possible time. And I also want the administration to deploy police officers at the Whampoa Road to enforce the law against offenders who are guilty of fly tipping or for making the road dirty and for speeding. And the government must assess the implication, the impact of the extension plan on the residents, and also what practical measures must be implemented. And compensation measures should be considered urgently. Those living near the other landfills are now asked to sacrifice their interests on behalf of the general population. So you should not ask them to suffer the undesirable consequences before you consider improvement and mitigation. And now the pressure on waste management will become a pressure point. The administration should press ahead with the consultation and implementation of a waste charging scheme. There's no point in procrastination, and the planning for building an incinerator should start right away. You should not drag your feet anymore. Junggano residents are not the winner today. They will continue to suffer from the older problems. And Hong Kong as a whole is also a losing party. The Environmental Bureau should do all the things that you have promised, waste reductions, reduction of odor of RCVs going to Junggano, and don't just come back with the same problems and ask for our approval to have an extension. You should regard this as a success and go ahead with all the necessary measures. For example, consultation for the waste charging scheme for waste management and for the building of an incinerator. Secretary, if you take a good look at the action blueprint, you will know that we are committed. We have the necessary commitments to introduce measures such as a charging scheme based on quantity of waste. And in the summer, we are going to issue a document to seek a response. As for the incinerator plan, there's a judicial review case pending, and after that we would proceed with full speed with the plan. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, well, the Secretary has talked about a lot of plans, blueprints, and has been very expressive in saying so. The blueprint has been there. We don't know whether it will be implemented or not. It depends on whether the SAR government is committed. It was not committed, and now we have to wait and see if it is committed. According to the Secretary, we need to take a multi-pronged approach to handle waste. What we can see now is that you are begging us to approve your landfill extension plans. When it comes to managing the landfills, when you encounter other problems, you let go. For example, a batch of plastic material has been rejected by the mainland because it's contaminated, and you have to allow the plastic waste to go to our landfills. When we talk about waste reduction, we don't see any commitments on the part of the government to come up with reasonable supporting measures. Now, faced with a possible rejection of the landfill extension plans, we in the Democratic Party don't see any commitment or concrete measures to handle this properly. Well, we are definitely going to oppose to any extension plan for the 3 landfills in question. Will the administration seize this opportunity, turn a crisis into an opportunity? Because the parties, all the political parties are saying that waste reduction is important, support for the recycling industry is important, and we are willing to give the green lights to go ahead. Will you promise that within a short time you are going to come back with papers, with policies, so that we can go forward? And people are not having a lot of trust on you, because the government is also talking about landfill reclamation in a Black Point, and also the Northeast NT development plan. Are you going to create another Lohas Park? So when you tell people that you are committed, true that you are going to carry it through? Or is it that policies that you embrace may be ignored by other bureaus? Or can you be unequivocal that your proposals have been supported by other bureaus and by the government as a whole? If you can say so, people who have more confidence, but you haven't been able to do this so far. People have doubts as regards to what extent you can do and to what extent the government can do as a whole. You should give us the policies backed up by resources, backed up by policies, so that we know that there will be a good plan for waste management. Thank you for your comments. We support reduction of waste at source. This is one of the focal policies of the CE. We understand that the most important thing for waste reduction is to have a charging scheme based on waste quantity. We already started the consultation, and now after discussion by focus points, we are preparing a request for response documents which will be launched in the summer. We are seeing some progress in waste management, and we are pressing ahead full steam with the charging scheme which is based on quantity. As for support of the recycling industry, we need to do a number of things: land, resources, green procurement. Under the blueprint, we are going to develop these ideas and measures. So under this overarching blueprint, we need to spend time to take things forward one at a time. If you look at what Korea has done, it was not done overnight. They took more than 10 years and doing things one step after another. Ms. Emily Lau, the SCL government is now facing opposition all round here. Even the pro-establishment Kam members have deserted the administration. So perhaps the Secretary can tell us that what's wrong with the formulation of this policy. There are people protesting outside. And they have said that the Twin Moon residents and Twin Moon District Council have not been consulted, notwithstanding what Dr. Chen has said. And on the 2nd of July, you have to do it again. So there's a lack of transparency, and you are not even able to win the support of the pro-establishment camp. We went to a residents' meeting at Lohas Park. Hundreds of them turned up, and they were in strong opposition. These are middle-class people. They spend a fortune in buying the homes, and the older problem has been plaguing them for years. One of them said they have never taken part in any protest, and come 1st of July, they are going to do it for the first time. We have received a letter from 50-odd scholars, professionals, and professional organizations which are concerned about Hong Kong's environment, asking for our support for the 3 extension plans, saying that what we have been discussed remain at the district level, and we are ignoring the overall problems with waste management for the entire territory. And they are worried and they are concerned and about this. So I think we should be fair. Are we adopting a narrow view? We are only looking at district issues, or is it that the administration has failed to take on the macro problems? We went on with the Secretary to look at ways of handling waste. They have taken many years to implement their policies, and even in Japan, they took 7 years to build an incinerator. So when you want to implement such measures, you need local support. I told people at Lohas Park, I met some of the local Lohas Park, the residents this morning. They said we might as well ship our refuse to Samjan. I said, well, we have to be committed locally. We should not ship our problem to another place. And Mr. Li Ka-shing said it's a nice place with clean air. Well, we might as well ask Mr. Li to live there. And as regards these scholars, I don't know who they are. It's a good thing that academics and professional bodies are interested in the matter. But they can't just ask us to support the proposals. So my question for the Secretary, what lesson has you learned since you have failed to win even over the pro-establishment camp?
Will those in the public gallery please remain quiet? Thank you, Ms. Lau, for your comment. I think we understand that the new administration attaches a lot of importance to this issue. We understand that on the one hand there is an urgency here, given the background, and secondly we all agree that we need to step up communication. Starting from October, we started to work together with different parties to consult members' views, including your views, especially the views of district councils and resident associations. We also went to Seoul for a study tour. Since October last year, a long time has lapsed, and on the one hand, our colleagues will comment on how we respond to the local aspirations. Regarding our overall blueprint, that is, for this long-standing problem, in response to that, we've worked out an action blueprint that is giving priority to waste reduction first. We are proposing a multi-pronged approach, but we've now come to a stage where we need to adopt a multi-pronged approach. We're now in this dilemma where, in which we can't, start with one measure before we go for the next. Dr. Chan. As to how we explain our waste management strategies and landfill operations to the residents, since 2008, we started our outreaching activities at Cheung Kwan O. We invited people from schools and housing estates to visit our landfills, and in the course of those visits we will listen to the views, and we will continue to do that. I'd like to remind our friends in the public gallery once again to please observe silence. We welcome you to attend our meeting, but please maintain order. Mr. Gary Fan, Secretary and officials, we don't doubt your determination. We have no doubt that you don't have a plan or direction. Over the past period, the community and the green groups have given you a lot of suggestions. The government's action blueprint compared with the proposal for solid waste management policy, they're very similar. We've had a lot of discussion. I think there is a global consensus that waste reduction should be the best policy, and landfilling and incineration should be the last resort. Since 2008, we've spent a lot of time, and the document at the time said that it was proposed that we should impose, waste charges, and then for the industry, we should go for recycling of batteries, bottles, and so on. We've taken 8 years already, and the SAIG has only done one thing, that is imposing the garbage bag levies. We don't even have a legal framework for recycling. So the people have already given the government time to implement a territory-wide policy to manage our waste. What we now query is your ability to implement. That is, you have failed to deliver what you have promised. The Sai Kung District Councils took a few years. They took 3 years and asked the EPD for several $100,000 to study. Only then did the government realize that the odor in Cheung Kwan O come from the landfills. In 2008, there was almost a constitutional crisis, and the government promised at the time that that you should make use of that golden opportunity to implement waste management strategies and leveraging of public opinion. It would also mitigate the transport environmental nuisances. But the problem is that coming back to Junggano, there had not been any major improvements. Secretary, this is a photo taken on the 17th of June when I went with you on a visit to the Junggano landfill. In the same evening, we saw these garbage, illegally dumped there, and this happens all the time. Looking at the figures, industrial and commercial waste, I think the growth in volume has been alarming. In 2001, we're talking about 430,000 metric tons. 2011 is 860,000. It has more than doubled in 10 years. So we're not only talking about domestic waste now. Why is that the case? Is it because, according to some people, because of the Development of Tourism Ministry and the individual traveller scheme, the business sector is not being very enthusiastic about waste reduction? Is the government not being active enough? So we'd like to ask why the government is still trying to force this through. You told us that you've consulted the Sai-Kung District Council. The Sai-Kung District Council had, passed motions, several motions. There have been complaints from local residents for the last 6 or 7 years. There have been thousands of complaints against ODA. In the budget debate this year, I proposed a motion against the allocation of funding. You still try to push it through. For the environmental panel, we passed a temporary motion objecting to the extension of the Junggano landfill. You're still trying to do that until you realize you don't have enough votes, and you've now withdrawn that application. I propose the government should start to do a good job in terms of sorting at source. In Takuling, we found sewers from the Takuling landfill contaminating the area and the river stream, and we will have to deal with that going forward. So how the government, convince the public that while on the one hand you ask us to undertake our responsibility, at the same time you have to tell the people of Hong Kong that given that you have this whole government machinery and so much resources at your disposal, how can you come up with a proper recycling policy? The 1,100 hectares of land in Junggano, for the last 25 years, they've spent 1/10 of their areas to build the landfill. This time you're proposing to expand it, and another 30 years will lapse before it will become saturated. I think that photo is an isolated incident. In terms of stepping up enforcement, we certainly do that. The question is, how do we implement all the work that we've outlined in our action blueprint? Well, these are the challenges that we have faced, and we'll work together with the community to implement all those measures. Ms. Chen Yun-han. It's really a sad story, because if the governments today still believe that, well, the government telling us that it's a very urgent problem, you must give us support, because that shows how inept the government is. The FTU took to the street in 1995 asking government to help build up a recycling industry, because it can create employment, it can also tackle the problem of waste management. More than almost 20 years have lapsed, and you're now repeating the same points. Mr. Secretary, you must understand, as many members have pointed out, since the day, even in the days of Sarah Liu, I don't know what Mr. Yao has done. So, given the current situation, you're still asking us to believe you. It's all empty talk. You must convince me by actions. You talk about the objection from the residents in Junggano. I think your criticisms against these residents are not, acceptable. What have you done for the people living in Junggano? You've not really come up with, thorough solution. I don't want to ask any question. I have had too much dialogue with the Secretary already. Ms. Alice Mack and other members have already pointed out that we need to resolve the problem of waste disposal. We are not against landfill. The question is, where are you going to place them? You have not shown us that you have this ability. Take recycling industry. Mrs. Kam-lam, if she she given promises she would do it, but she has to put her words into actions. The CS has to face all these issues, but it takes time. And the government is being very rigid, including Secretary. You choose to take the easy way out and propose to extend the landfill. I'm not saying that you are cheating us, but that's the impression that you're giving us. You're still sticking to all these old ideas. You've not come up with any innovative ideas. You look at Korea, South Korea, and Japan. They have all these innovative ideas. And many of my friends have asked me to force the government to do something. Let's say if we have the incinerators and landfills, you need to have a comprehensive plan. In Japan, they have one in every district. You say there's no space in Central, then I don't think that's a good excuse. Don't dump all the garbage in a few areas. Secondly, you should start at the problem, tackle the problem at source. In Brazil, the whole environmental industries have created lots of jobs. When we went on a visit to the States, we went to New York and Virginia. I looked at the recycling industries there. After that visit, that was more than 10 years ago. I think the government learned from that, did anything on what we've learned from those visits. We've talked about tackling the problem of source a long time. Chairman, you come from Kowloon East. I think the Choi Wan Estate actually, pioneered the effort to sort waste. The government doesn't seem to have, ability to deal with the problem. We've talked for a long time about how we should, deal with food waste. The people in the community are already doing it in Wong Tai Sin. They're doing it in different housing estates, and they find it very difficult to find space to do that. In Fusan Estate, we found some venue which is very small. The housing department early on promised to help us. Later on, it reneged on its promise. And the person spearheading that effort was a former government official. We are all willing to help the government. So I also scolded Mr. Pascott because he's a very good government official, but why is it that he's behaving in such a manner today? Mr. Secretary, we don't want more talks. Like Alice Mack said, we told you the reasons why we objected to your proposal to extend the timber landfill. I think your time is up, Ms. Chan. Dr. Ann Chang. I have 3 questions for the Secretary. First of all, Mr. Tam Yu Chung already had pointed out that the odor from landfills and the dust coming from landfills are created because the tipping trucks pass through the area, the sewers will drip onto the street. As a result, you have odor. And for the construction waste, the tipping trucks carrying them are not covered. As a result, the dust will fly all over the place. But we reflected this problem to you 10 years ago. For example, we suggested that we should cover these tipping trucks and that there should be a container to hold the sewers. These are not difficult solutions. The government could have simply allocated, some funds and resolved the problem. Why haven't you done that for the last 10 years? And secondly, the EPD or the Secretary could perhaps answer the question. That is, whether we could ask the operators of the tipping trucks to ensure that they are fully contained or fully enclosed before we allow them to run on the streets. Could the TD, make this demand on the operators? There is now a requirement for these trucks to comply with European standards. I think you could do the same for tipping trucks. Thirdly, over the last period of time, I think all of us have been reflecting on this issue. A lot of comments have been raised in the community. So I'd like to ask the Secretary whether or not in the next LETCO session, preferably early on during the session, that you could come up with a comprehensive program from tackling the problem at source. For example, encouraging the reuse and recycling of waste, all the way down to waste management, and whether or not we should have one incinerator, or we shouldn't build a big incinerator and ask one district to shoulder responsibility, or would it be like Japan where we can build several small incinerators in different districts so that the big trucks don't have to travel all over the territory? The odor created from landfilling and incinerators, how can we make use of that? Because the landfill gas, 80% of landfill gas are simply wasted.
Can we not have an overall plan for the recycling industry? Let's do something to contribute to its development. Ms. Jiang has raised 3 questions. I'll ask my colleague to supplement after I've spoken. There's a question about the blueprint concerning the sharing of the burden of providing facilities in different districts. But at the appropriate time, after the summer, we can update members. As regards landfill gas, as we have said in this council, we would like to turn waste into energy. Regarding the idea to have covered and contained RCVs, well, we'll request all RCVs to be contained our vehicles, and there will be a receptacle for the runoff. We have talked to the industry on how the conversion can be done. Some pilots conversion schemes have been carried out. We'll look at the way how we can retrofit the facilities and how the costs compare with each other. I would like to get a timetable. Please give us a timetable. I would like to know what you can do and when you can do it. Yeah, actually, some other members have also asked you to be more active in promoting the green industry. Maybe you can follow up with the environmental protection panel. We have Mr. Albert Chen and then Mr. Ronnie Tong. But I think what I'm going to say has been heard by the Secretary for many, many times. I've been talking about the same thing in the past 10 odd years. When it comes to the environmental protection, recycling and recycling industry and waste management, we are lagging behind other countries. We have obsoleted from incineration to landfilling and then back to incineration. Some 20 years ago, we went to Japan on a study tour. 20 years ago, they already switched from landfilling to incineration, and they produce
electricity through incineration, and they can also contain the problem by controlling the temperature of incinerators. So we are already lagging behind Japan by 20 years. The government has been acting as if it had a rich father, is the heir of a rich father, is a prolific son, a prodigal son, and so you have been doing very little. Our per capita amount of refuse is 2 times that of Taiwan and 3 times that of South Korea. Because of failure on the part of the administration, we have many waste which has been sent unnecessarily to landfills. The government claims that we have made some improvements. I don't deny that compared with the past, we have made some improvements, but we are still lagging behind others. As a result, the amount of waste sent to landfills is unnecessarily high in quantity. I hope we can do more in sorting and reduce at source. Whether we go for legislation is another matter. We can discuss it later. We should ask the FEHD to do more by sorting and reuse. It's not just about food waste. There should be a mandatory sorting at source so that the recycling industry can develop. And at the same time, we can reduce waste going to landfills to almost zero. And now the government is avoiding the real problems. This is a crisis of your own making. If you can reduce waste, then we will have less waste going to landfills. It's just like Taiwan. They built 3 incinerators. They did sorting at source. As a result, one of the incinerators had to cease operation, and the 2 did not have sufficient waste to incinerate, and they have to do this by rotation if you don't do any sorting by waste. Then you are going to be wrong about the projection of quantity of waste. I've told the Secretary this again and again, and that we are going to oppose to any funding application for landfills or incinerators if you don't do a good job in sorting. I've already argued a number of times with Ms. Anissa Wong, and she actually lost her temper when the discussion was heated. She was ignorant, and when presented with proposals, she thought that I was trying to cheat her. Of course, the Secretary is, of course, better in terms of attitude, but AOs do not know about the professional aspects. And now the Secretary is willing to do a good job, although your predecessor did not do a good job. So it's better for you to withdraw all the 3 applications today. Let's discuss sorting at source first. Villagers from Long Ku Tan are staging a petition outside. I talked to them, some of them. They are basically in opposition to the extension of the landfill. And Long Ku Tan villagers wanted to have their village relocated. On one side, there are 3 chimneys for the power generation. On the other, they have the polluting industry operating there. Long Ku Tan is not suitable for habitation. Mr. Wong Fat is a big landowner, so that's why he dares not speak up. So Long Ku Tan villagers want to see improvement to the environment. So even if the application is for Long Ku Tan is approved today, that you should assist the villagers through relocation. Mr. Ronnie Tong, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I think Cheung Kwan O residents are happy now that the application for Cheung Kwan O landfill has been withdrawn. But Hong Kong people should not misunderstand what it means or to take it as a response from the administration. It's just that the Junggano residents have successfully swayed the AB into not supporting the application. If the AB supports you tomorrow, I'm sure the Secretary will come back very soon with the same application. Secretary, you have been saying that we should share the burden. Junggano residents have been doing this for more than 2 decades. Isn't it time that they should have regarded as accomplished or taken their fair share, and some other districts should be asked to share now? It's not just a social problem, it's a political question. We shouldn't have a landfill so close to residential areas. So my first point is, please have mercy and spare Junggano residents. The Secretary has been imposed for less than a year. Because you share the same characteristics as the CY Leung's administration, and that your talk is much more powerful than your act. You're a better speaker than doer. Last time when we objected to the landfills, we already said that the refuse collection vehicle should be of a contained design, and they should not be fouling the street. Well, we made 5 points. They responded in full to the 5 points, in writing only. A few days, a leaflet was sent by the Secretary to Junggano residents setting out what he would do, point by point. And one point is about Chun Chung Kai car park and littering by some people, and it would take years for them to actually do something. At the end, it said at the end of 2013, well, we'll do something to combat fly tipping. Is it the way enforcement is carried out in Hong Kong in the face of so daring an offense? And did you see, Secretary? Did you see the photo carried in the in Mingpao? You should. It's your duty, your basic duty, to prevent environmental pollution. And now you're saying that we need facilities. Please let us extend the landfills. Well, people have been cheated for so many years. And Chairman, I understand that there were people going to your head office to protest and ask you not to support the proposals. I hope you will not change tack later. So, Secretary, can you do the basic environmental protection measures right away? Secretary, thank you for your questions. I'll take the second question first. In combating illegal disposal of waste, we have been doing this all the time. We have figures on prosecution and enforcement, so it's not that we are now doing it. We are now starting to do it. We have installed CCTV in bread sports to facilitate enforcement and prosecution, and we are going to do it more forcibly. But then why are you saying that you are going to do this at the end of the year in the leaflet? Well, need to spend time in consulting the district council on the right location to do it. And as I've said, we need to share the burden, and we need to be to take on board the views from residents and other people. But we would like to maintain the current approach because of the need to safeguard the entire Hong Kong's interests. I think this is a very abstract and difficult to understand reply, a vague response. But Mr. Albert Chan is not agitated. his remarks makes a lot of sense, especially in relation to environmental protection, sorting at source, incineration. It also shows that the government has been doing a less than adequate job for a long time. And Ms. Emily Lau criticized the pro-establishment camp for failing to support the government. Well, this is an attempt to create confrontation and division, and this is. And Mr. Gary Fang came to our head office, the head office of DAB, to express views, and we took the views seriously. Our Cheung Kwan No office received these people, and we listened to people. So there's no question of U-turning, as suggested by Ronnie Tong. We need to handle waste. So we have to consider how we can share the burden. But in relation to Cheung Kwan No, a lot of measures have yet to be implemented, and the residents are facing problems such as odor, fly tipping, and so on. So more should be done. In the 80s and 90s, when I was in the Central and Western District Council, well, there was a problem of air pollution caused by incineration. And we worked hard to ask for the incinerator to be scrapped because of public concern. I think every member here should be concerned about people's worries. And after the administration has carry out all the necessary measures, we would consider how to deal with the other problems. So this is the stance of the DAB. We need to consider landfilling. Otherwise, how can we handle our waste in Hong Kong? We shouldn't waste time. And I believe that there's a consensus about incineration. Technology has developed. Incinerators are not like what they were in those times. There's no longer a problem with odor. So why hasn't the administration considered the construction of incinerators? But all in all, the government did a poor job in the past. So, to be realistic, Secretary, please implement the improvement measures. In Cheung Kwan No, a lot of odor comes from RCVs. And when they tip the refuse, and if it's overloaded, the vehicle will be denied access. So they would come out to some remote corners where nobody can see it, and they would just tip the refuse there. So how can you handle such act of fly tipping? I will leave some time for the Secretary to respond.
Secretary. Mr. Yip, I think we understand the point that you've made. That is, how can we enhance the management of the landfills? Mr. Lam, Mr. Yip alluded to the question of overloading of the refuse trucks. We've been liaising all along with the trade. I think overloading is illegal, so we'll take the problem at source. We also have preventive measures on hand. We will also cooperate with the police to ensure there is prosecution. At the landfills, we will also ensure that the trucks should not be overloaded and that they should not illegally make use of our facilities. So we'll work together with the trade to see how we can, prevent the problem of the overloading of these vehicles. It's 10:19. We have 4 or 5 more members yet to speak. So I expect that we'll definitely be overrunning beyond 10:30. So I propose that we extend the meetings until 10:45. At 11, we have the council sitting. So I do not want to extend the meeting until the time for the start of the council meeting. So members will give me your cooperation. After the 4 other members have spoken, I will allow time for the secretary to respond once again, and then we'll deal with the 2 papers. Dr. Kenneth Chan. Mr. James Stowe? Chairman. You're not going to allow a question with second round. Why is that? Mr. Kenneth Chan. Why not? Well, because we don't have enough time. I've stated at the beginning of the meeting that, when we started, almost 18 members put up their hands. Well, so be it, Chairman. Is that the rule applicable to subcommittees under the Finance Committee? There are no, clear and fast rules regarding the time for members to speak. But we have to consider the circumstances of each meeting and chair the meeting accordingly. 70, 80 members will have spoken. Well, I think you can only disallow repetition of the same question, but I think you're creating a dangerous precedent. This is not a precedent. No, this is not a precedent. Well, if people have no further questions, it's one thing, but I don't think you can disallow a second round of questions. Dr. Kenneth Chan, this morning we learned that the government will be withdrawing its application in respect of the extension of the SCNT landfill. This is because they don't want to take the risk of this being vetoed. But withdrawing the application doesn't mean that the Zhongguo landfill has, fulfilled its historic mission. I think the government will probably find a more appropriate time to putting the application to us again. I've listened carefully to the government's analysis and also the responses to my questions. I've also gone to the district to listen to the residents and to look at the actual situation along Wanpo Road. The so-called enhancement proposals by the government, if you ask me, I think the government should have done this a long time ago. Although we no longer have the urban council and the municipal council, the 3-tier system has become a 2-tier system. But I don't want the Sai-Kung district council or the other members of the other district councillors. I'm sure it's not true that they've not, made all these suggestions to you, namely all these enhancement measures. The leakage of sewage from tipping trucks. I've actually, driven behind those, followed those trucks. I've also witnessed I've even had my windscreen being shattered by the debris coming off these vehicles. For people who need to live in Zhongguo every day, I can empathize with how they feel. So for any of these extension proposals, I'm sure they will not be accepted. And now you're bargaining with the people and say, if you accept the proposed extension, you're going to come up with these enhancement measures. But I don't think that's the proper way of dealing with the problem. You should have, implemented all these enhancement measures first. But you're only putting forward these proposed enhancement measures in exchange for the acceptance of your application to extend the landfill. The government certainly doesn't have the sincerity. and the so-called undertaking to do whatever enhancement measures in the future. But ever since I've become electrical members, I've noticed that the Environmental Bureau and its departments, when we talk to them about anything, very often interdepartmental collaboration is required. You come up with this waste reduction blueprint, and we learned that you have to go through many procedures, internal, negotiation, a lot of bargaining. So you have to go through all these, protracted, struggle. That's why you're not able to give Mr. Ronnie Tong an answer to his question. I believe this is because of the bureaucracy within the government. Our leader, Mr. Alan Lew, already stated the position of the Civic Party, and I shan't repeat that here. But I think one point we should notice is this. I was in charge of a bills committee regarding levies on plastic bags. The response, I think the government has really done a very sloppy job, in handling that bill, and it did not understand correctly our concerns and worries. Such a slow manner in which they deal with bills relating to amendments of waste reduction and producer responsibility doesn't give us the confidence. You're now enacting an legislation to regulate the market or the industry or the general public and encourage them to buy, shopping bags. I think over the weekend, the government is organizing an activity where you distribute the plastic bag, a plastic product. A ballpoint was given away. It was contained in a plastic bag. Even a poster was put inside a plastic bag. And then a photo was given away, and it was also put inside a plastic bag. So how many plastic bags did you give away? What's the quantity? The government said that you always have guidelines to govern yourselves. I'm not trying to exaggerate the small issue here. What is clear is that when the government promises to do this and that, but then then we have to wait for a long time. But what the imminent problems at the other hand are not being addressed. The treatment in Zhongguanou, the people in treatment are worried that after reclamation, treatment will become a repetition of what happened in Zhongguanou. Dr. Kenneth, Mr. Tony Chair, regarding waste management, I think landfilling is necessary. In principle, I have in the past supported government's argument that we need landfills. Of course, colleagues have asked what other solutions there are other than landfills. For example, could we use incinerators to replace some of the landfills? I think different approaches have been adopted in different countries. I think these facilities can help minimize impact on the residents. So I hope the government can have a study and discussion on the respective role to be played by these different facilities. The government is telling us that if we do not extend the landfills, the city will be flooded with garbage. Many people may not be able to imagine what it's like. However, people living in the proximity of the landfills already have this first-hand experience. That is, when the garbage is taken to the landfill, they have to put up with the odor, and also the garbage trucks carrying construction waste to the landfills. They're causing all kinds of nuisance and traffic obstruction. Many people say that the government has always undertaken to do something and does not deliver or does not deliver fully what they have promised to do. So the government is giving me this impression which I don't have any confidence in. I think previously there were 3 proposals for landfill extensions. These 3 landfills actually take care of the garbage generated from all 18 districts. For these 3 landfills and the nuisance that the people living near these 3 landfills are put up with, we must address that. For the other 15 districts, I think they should also make some contribution on the respective parts, because they don't have to put up with a landfill in the district. I've also told Mr. Michael Teen earlier, for example, that on Hong Kong Island, we have a transfer station, garbage transfer station. To some extent, these transfer stations can help minimize the odor, and after the garbage has been compressed, they would be much smaller in volume. So I agree with Mr. Michael Teen and the others that the government should really try its best to make use of such transfer stations, to make better use of the transfer stations in its waste management strategy. I hope that the government will really do something. In the past, the government might have promised to do something, and in the end it didn't deliver out of sloppiness. So I agree that many of these proposals should be done. It's a question of management.
For example, why don't you have a contained design for RCVs, and also for the tipper trucks carrying construction waste? They may cause dust problems and endanger other drivers. It's a management problem. Whether we have an extension or not, the government should do something about this. Now that the Cheung Kwan O proposal has been withdrawn, it doesn't mean that Cheung Kwan O residents are spared from such problems. The government should do something in concrete terms and restore people's confidence, so that we can have people who can listen patiently and who can have rational discussions. Secretary, please give us a pledge that you are really going to do things as promised. Because if it's not anything concrete, it would be difficult for me to support your funding applications now. Mr. James Toh, regarding your refusal to allow a second round, I would say it's totally unreasonable. I hope you will use my time. Yes, I'm doing it. Or you should give. I'm going to speak. I'm going to use my part of my 5 minutes to criticize you. Don't use my time, Chairman. Chairman, please don't use my time. I have to tell you why. Whether in favor or not, the administration has talked about enhancement measures. All of these are technical matters. Not every member has the chance to raise questions in the Environmental Protection Panel, Environmental Affairs Panel. As for example, Mr. KK Fong, his party has got only 1 member here, but he also got support from hundreds of thousands of voters. So shouldn't he be allowed to ask some technical issues here? And we cannot exhaust all such questions in one round. So I want to ask my question briefly and seeking brief answers. When did you come up with this contained RCV proposal? In the last couple of days? Did you come up with this in the last couple of days? You can say that it's a long time, or in the last couple of days. We have been doing the conversion for a long time. So why didn't you do it since your assumption of office? Because when you were briefed, when you look at the file, you know that this would be one of the options. It's mentioned so many times. Why did you only offer this at the last round of bargain?
How can people think that you are sincere if you do this? As I have said, we have been converting gradually LCVs, government LCVs, then government contractors LCVs. We have been liaising with the operators, industries, and provide guidelines for them to do this. And through internal deliberations in the government, we have come to the point that we need to do something more effectively. So why haven't you been doing this in the past year? And now you only come up with this measure now, when we need to get support. And the vehicle itself is just one thing. We need to do some other thing to tie in. For example, the monitoring of odor problem in Tseung Kwan O was implemented last year, and it's just about the LCV. We are going to monitor PM 2.5 pollutants in Tseung Kwan O landfill. So we have a timetable to do things. It's not that we only come up with this idea now. We have other measures which we have implemented at a timetable to implement others. Why didn't you do it earlier? You should have done this a year ago, because this is a pressing problem. You are the expert. You know that this is going to be a difficult issue. You should have done this first. Secretary, people think that you are offering this as a bargaining chip, even though it's not costly, even though you could have done it earlier, and you are not going to do it. In your pocket, Secretary, are there other enhancement measures that you are now not showing us, and then you only offer them later when your proposals are approved or rejected? I think the concerns are about odor, LCVs, and related problems. So we have a timetable to implement different measures to respond to the local people's wishes. So we have been doing our best. Whether we're talking about the residents or internally, you have come up with other possible enhancement measures. Have you kept some of these measures from us? Is that true? Because we have to think of a way to make you accountable later. For feasible measures, we are all going to consider implementing them. Mr. Chen Hang-ban. Well, let me state this. After careful consideration, the DAB has come to this decision. There are things that the government should have done previously, and they have not been done. For example, the vehicles, the contained design, and people are not having a lot of confidence. So we would like the government to make improvements. For example, those promised as reported by the press. As for others, well, let's discuss them in the future. And also for the funding to carry out the study in relation to the Tuen Mun landfill, don't just feel happy about your success of in your application. You should do your best, and I think people will come to their judgment as to regards whether you have delivered in due course. And you have been asking for an incinerator at Shek Koo Chau. The public objection has been strong. So please don't just sit there and wait for the completion of the court case. Or you and you cannot just ignore everything and go on with the building of the incinerator. What can you do now before the court case is properly disposed of? Secretary, Tseung Kwan O, Tuen Mun, or other districts, we would liaise with the districts closely to understand their aspirations, and our measures will be implemented in accordance with the timetable. It's not that we don't want to have the incinerator built. We have a pending judicial review court case. Different voices have been expressed. Is there any room for us to rethink the technique to be adopted, or the location to have the incinerator? Well, we would reconsider all relevant issues. Can you do something good for Tuen Mun in the coming 2 years? We have a established local district group led by the permanent secretary. We are going to liaise closely with the districts concerned, including North District. This is a standing mechanism to deal with the relevant issues. We will try to understand the aspirations of different districts and take appropriate follow-up action. Members, it's already 10:40. As I've said, I'm going to leave 2 to 3 minutes for Mr. Wong to have some final words, and then we'll proceed to the vote. I understand that some members may wish to claim a division, so at least we need 10 minutes to vote on the 2 papers. So we're going to exceed the time limit of 10:45. So we are going to extend this to 10:55. Mr. Wong. If you don't have the power to extend the meeting further, do you require the endorsement of these members? Would members agree to the extension? Well, I would object because I have a QR for the second round and you are not allowing it. For those in favor of extending the meeting to 10:55, hands up please. I claim a division. Okay, let's proceed to a division. The division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
最動議你啊！
反對就唔可以嘅。會議常規可以嘅。
It's allowed under the rules of procedure. I can extend 15 minutes for the first time. For the second time, for a further extension, I need to get your consent. I can extend it to 11 at most.
梁家傑議員，
我而家睇緊咧係公務小組委員。
I'm looking at 11A of the rules for PWSC. I would like to seek if clarification for the Secretary if my understanding is correct. When the chairman exercises discretion to extend the meeting by 15 minutes, if there is any need to extend the meeting any further, there should be no objection from any single member. If a member objects, the meeting must come to the end.
Could the clerk please confirm if this is if my understanding is correct? Thank you for Mr. Alan Leung's raising of this point. Under Rule 11A, is exactly on this issue. Let me raise this again. Let's switch off the alarm. Let me raise this again. If you do not object, I would extend the meeting to 10:55. I object. Since a member objects, it's now 10:45 and our meeting adjourns now. I will arrange for another meeting.